Boom. We're on video. Alrighty, so I had to move some of my stuff out of the way so I could make room for the skateboard and a little, god damn it, itchy all of a sudden. And some tools. Some tools I'm gonna need. I need something to pop the old, I guess, T-nut style boats out of this board. There's only two left, but they're right here and right there. So I'm gonna get those out first, and I think I am just gonna cheat and use, if it will go through. Nope, it won't. Okay, let me find something that is skinny enough to go through there, that is pointy enough to go through there. Maybe these long bolts can go in there and pop them out. Perfect. There's actually two of them. And there's the other one. Wow, I got lucky. There was two weird bolts, only two of them, in this little cradle of spare parts and drill bits and you name it. I mean, I have a bunch of these. This is a great way to keep a small collection of multiple tools that you know you're going to use all the time, which these are like some of my most used pieces of the puzzle. So there somehow was just two of those. Wow. So that's kind of cool. So now I need the next thing. I need a hammer. So now I'm just going to use the hammer, and I'm going to pop that out and then pop that out. It's that simple, stupid. Oh, it looks like there might be one more on the other side. So let me get these out of here. And okay. These were from the old Powell Peralta rails that used to be on here. I think I had a set of either pink, orange, or green. They might even have been red. I don't think they were yellow. I think I might have gone through a couple sets, but there were rails on this, and I'm not sure if they're still here somewhere or if they got cut down. I want to say that at some point I cut the rails down and used them on my guitar or bass pedal board. Probably to hold things in place, like a volume pedal or a wah pedal or something crazy, or you name it. I mean, I used to run an Echoplex and Space Echo and all that stuff through my bass rig back in the 90s, when you could find a Space Echo for $50, and I think I had two of them. I don't know. Anyway, off subject. Yeah, somewhere along my days of musicianship and having a bunch of pedal boards, I think my original rails that were on this board, I think they got cannibalized to space things out on a pedal, because I cannibalized a gun case and and those skateboard rails to organize my pedal board with, if I remember correctly. And I don't think any of that's still here. I think it's long gone. I think it got burnt in a fire. And I don't think that exists anymore. So those rails were probably there. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I'm getting nostalgic here, because this thing hasn't been rid since my days in Flint, Michigan. I was in Burton, Michigan, and there was plenty of paved roads to ride on. Our neighborhood got paved in the very early 80s, and so it was ripe for skateboarders to be growing up on, and I became one of those guys. There we go. And yeah, this is the board I've had all these years. This was the last one I bought. So I've got this thing here. What I want to do is I want to set it off to the side for a second. get the hammer out of the way because I don't need it now. And then, yeah, probably after that, sometime tonight, I need to finish fixing this birdhouse. This poor thing, it just fell out of the tree. So we'll get that fixed for the birds later. But right now, I want to get this skateboard put together. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can, be more a part of my my madness here on the YouTube land. So, oh, by the way, I'm opening a package here. I should probably talk about that. But I did want to say like and subscribe and, all that stuff. And then, and comment on stuff. Because I have a tendency to go on long tangents here when I'm doing my thing in the garage here. So I'm in the top floor of a gamble roof building, so I don't have like too many straight up and down walls. I have like slanted walls on this side and behind me, and then there's one straight wall way over there, and then stuff going on over there. But yeah, this is a very unconventional space, although I have it arranged where I can pretty much do all the things that I need to do out here. So, one of those things might be repairing my skateboard. Like, okay, so I had a friend that, like, PayPal'd me some cash for helping him do a project. And so I had a little bit on my PayPal account, so I went ahead and looked online to see if I could find some rails. And this is what I came up with. These are slightly used, but they are the Powell Peralta rails from the 1980s, and they're the 4-inch spacing, so they should be compatible with the board that I have here. And it came with some very cool Alva Alva logo. I think it's just a strip of them. But that was like, I always called it Awa, because to me it looked like Awa. Or Awa. It doesn't scream Alva. That looked like a W in the middle to me for years. I thought it was AWA, Awa, but it's Alva. Yeah. So that's my take on it. Anyway, I had the 70s model skateboard that was the Alva skateboard. It was a pool board because it was a wooden deck. It was skinnier, like, I don't know. When I say skinnier, I think like around the 6 or the 6 or 7 inch at the widest. But it was like skinny at the bottom, but it had like almost a straight tail, and then it had the kind of went up into like almost like a shark's nose, like pointing nose in the front like that, and it just kind of, and then it was a skinny version of like what this board shape is, and it was a little bit shorter, so it was short like a freestyle board. But it was kind of spaced like a skateboard of the, yeah, it was a 70s model anyway. And it even had the Alva wheels on it, which were the great big orange wheels that were like that thick. And then all the bearings were like over here. So there was a shit ton of wheel way out here on the sides that you really didn't need. But those were pool boards back in the day. And that's what my Alva board had. It had the Alva wheels, the orange ones, and then it had I think some kind of tracker style trucks or something. They weren't as vintage as what they should have been for that board, but it was what fit the board, and that's what I had on it. And yeah, I wish I hadn't sold it. If I still had it, that board is worth a lot of money these days. Mine was in pristine condition too. It was it had not been skated. Like maybe a couple times I got on it just to see what it felt like. But I was like, this is a piece of nostalgia. I put it together with the right wheels. some trucks that would fit it, and you know, it was functional, and I just wanted it to be just that. I didn't want to destroy it or wreck. I didn't want any of my friends getting on it and breaking it or doing something stupid. I just kept it, and then when it came time to pass it on to somebody, I sold it to some kid in California that paid me like in installments, and then eventually I think he paid me like $250 or $300 for that board or something like that. I gave him a hell of a deal on it. And yeah, I'm sure if he didn't sell that board, that he's probably sitting on a board that's probably worth like $1,000 or more at least. Anyway, I didn't realize how valuable some of those nostalgic skateboards are until I looked on eBay, and you know, even this one, you know, I see a few of these going for, you know, a fair price, but they're always in the in the $200-300 range most of the time, or maybe a little less sometimes. But it's the old ghosts. Those are the ones I've been looking at. Those are kind of pricey to try to find one of those. So yeah, when I upgrade my board to a more modern board, I am going to find an old ghost and explore that world. I like the graphic with the skull and the original old ghost. If I was to find either of those in a modern double, you know, kicktail on the front, kicktail on the back style that most of them come out as now, the popsicle basically. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get on board with that. I want to try that out. But I want to skate this a few times just for, you know, because this was the last board I skated. I'm going to be somewhat familiar with it. I'm going to look behind me and see if I can find a tool that I need. And here it is. This should be everything I need right here. There we go. I just needed a screwdriver. So there was an old movie, and the comedy part of it was somebody kept saying something about, I need a screwdriver, and every time he said, I think it was Airplane, every time he said screwdriver, they threw a vodka and orange juice like in his face. And I think it was Airplane, but yeah, that just popped in my head when I said screwdriver. So I'm gonna have to pop this thing down in here with the hammer. What did I do with that hammer? Okay, yeah, there's gonna be lots of tapping things in. All right. Now let's see what I get when I go all the way down with that. Oh. Ooh, there we go. I can feel it pulling the, there. I wonder if I should position this a little bit better so you can maybe see a little bit more of what I'm doing, or maybe I'll just try and hold it up higher. Okay, so I got the first one in. It's pretty much all the way down. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pop each one of these in with the hammer. This board is total old school. This was the shape that John Grigley was riding on in those early 90s from 88 all the way up, because he had another shape that had like kind of a square nose, and then it kind of went down like this and kind of down like that and then out a little bit. So I had that, it was just inside of this shape, but it had some, you know, flat, 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 and then in, and then it kind of just kind of popped out a little bit. Yeah, it was a weird looking board, but it was cool. I remember it being very, very cool and comfortable because I had that board, and then I had the mini, and the mini is the one that had this face design, and that was big on the back, that face instead of this mask looking face. And that was the mini. No, that was number 2. The number 1 was the one that just with this weird Grigley face, the first version of that. So it does not look like it fits exactly like I need it to. So it's possible I'm going to have to back that other one off to make room for what I'm doing right now. So what I'm going to have to do, and I'm sorry you can't see what I'm doing. I'll try to get it up higher here. In order to get the second one to start threading, I've got to move. Yeah, I think I have to do a little stretch on this. Wow, it's going to be challenging because they're just off by a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we're only going to go down a little bit at a time because it's very difficult to get an exact bite the way you need it. This one might work a little bit better. Yeah, this one seems to want to bite in a little better. I think it's getting it. Okay, so that's good. Now we do this very last one over here. This one is going to be very tricky. Okay, hey, off topic. I'm not talking about skateboards right now. I'll give you something to comment about. Hey, I just watched the first 3 episodes of Endor this week, and I think I've watched them several times now. And then, of course, I go right to Rogue One. And I rewatched season 1 over the weekend so that I'd be fresh in my mind all about that season before going into season 2. And yeah, so I got myself psyched up, and I watched it a few times because the first time I saw it, I was at my neighbor's house on the huge big screen TV he's got over there. So I had a couple beers and watched it, and it was very enjoyable, but like a lot of the really quiet banter going back and forth between characters, I missed a lot of that. So I got the gist of it as a whole, but I had to go back and rewatch those episodes when I got home. And then I watched them the next day, and then the next day, and I'll probably watch them again tonight because, yeah, there's so much detail in the background of everything. Every speeder they show up on, is in itself a perfect little piece of art that they're flying around in, So yeah, it's been kind of fun watching the especially their episodes are like 3 in a row. So that's what we're gonna get. It was like 12 episodes, so it's like 3, 6, 9, and then 12, and then we're at the first step into Rogue One. Okay. So I feel like this one's getting on there pretty darn good. I'm going to get a bite on that. And now we're going to flip this around so you can see what I got going on there. That is securely on there. That is good. Now, the only thing I don't like about these is they do interrupt a graphic like this that looks better all by itself. But, you know, this board is, I don't want to deface this. So if I do anything where I go up on the edge of the ramp and do any slide rides, I kind of want something to protect most of this graphic so I'm not like totally damaging it out, because yeah, I have to pay some respect to this board as a piece of artwork that has survived, you know, this length of time without being thrown away or, you know, you name it. It's literally been up here in my parents' garage for like 35 years. It just, when my stuff got thrown up here in the corner, and that was all I had left of the, you know, life, and I had to throw everything, you know, where up in the corner over there. Yeah, this is one of the things that has remained up here, and somehow or another, it didn't get thrown out, it didn't get given away, or taken, or, you know how things happen. You have something stored at someone's house somewhere, and then they just take it upon themselves to do something with it, like, you know, whatever they want, not realizing that they should really, you know, talk to you before they, you know, disrespect your shit. Yeah. I was very fortunate to be able to leave a small pile of stuff in the corner over there. I always had like a twin bed and, you know, some tubs of stuff. And in the late 90s and throughout the 2000s, there was tubs full of Star Wars because I had a massive collection from all that. And yeah, I was able to keep it and maintain it because I had a place to stash it when I wanted to go, you know, Spartan and just crash out somewhere for a while and, you know, rent a room from somebody before moving to someplace, you know. I would have a lot of stuff here. And my skateboard has just managed to survive all these years. So I came up here in 1993, tail end of the summer, and like, yeah, I mean, this skateboard was more than likely already here because I wasn't using it. So it was probably already stashed up here somewhere or somehow. I may have had it with me, but it's really hard to say. My most important thing back in the early to mid 90s, the most important thing to me was my bass. Where was it and how fresh were the strings, and where's my rig? As long as I know where those things are, I can make a sandwich and survive till the next day. Because, you know, eventually I gotta slap the bass through that rig, and it has to be where I can, you know. So that was my main responsibility. And then, yeah, during times when I was working actual jobs, you know, actual Monday through Friday paycheck jobs, I might not be using all that gear. So sometimes it got stashed here. And I'm pretty sure at one point my skateboard was leaning up against an old bass rig. But when I started playing music I immediately lost all of my interest in skateboarding because I just didn't I didn't want to risk the injuries, because I knew a couple things. I was strong enough as a skateboarder to start attempting some of the more tricky stuff that you see everybody do these days, like the kick flips and jumping up on the side of the board, like and then when they just make the board twirl around in circles underneath of them, and it just looks like yeah, I would love to learn how to do some of that stuff. I was getting into that stuff, but my main thing was you know, being able to get around and over and through the obstructions of anything from staircase to terraces to, you know, and just trying to do it smoothly without wearing myself out. I think the biggest thing for me is just like getting on a bike and riding it, is just the physicality of being on the board and taking the ride and doing a little slalom, getting your way, you know, down the road or sidewalk or whatever you're doing. And yeah, it's just having that freedom to just, yeah, just skate your way around wherever you're going. I mean, it's freaking cool as hell. It is, it's definitely, it's definitely cool. Okay, so I almost went too far on that. I got a little bit more here so I can get that nice and tight. There we go. So now I got both of them on there. Check that out. Look at that pair of rails. It fits. It was a little tricky on the first one I put on, but oh, wow! I think it because the black. I never had black on there. I think I had some orange and some pink. I know there was pink ones on there because I think when I bought my rails, there literally was the only color they had. It was in the middle of the summer. Everybody was like clearing the skateboard places out to where there was like just the bare minimum of stuff. Like the most unsold color was pink, and that was all they had available. So that's what I threw on, and I'm pretty sure, which, yeah, also explains why I I didn't care what happened to them at some point, because yeah, they were freaking pink. These look way cooler. This looks more like it belongs on the board because of the black. I thought about getting yellow. I thought about getting blue. A bunch of other colors came up, and even red. But yeah, I think I like those. So yeah, I should shout out to my friend Brandon for you know, PayPaling me for helping him out on that little project. Helped him out sanding some paint off of the inside of an old log cabin so it could be prepped for painting. And yeah, so I had a little money in PayPal and I spent it on those rails. I still have a few bucks in there, so I might buy another Star Wars figure or something, or I might just leave it in there. Who knows? But that feels pretty good now that I got the board. So I have this thing just about ready. The rails are on it, so now I can take it to the ramp and I'll feel comfortable that I'm not going to completely destroy this. And then my next move is I've got to get a socket wrench set up and an Allen wrench rig set up so that I can get on both sides of these bolts and make sure that they're snug. So, oh, I have that penetrating solution that I'm going to spray on this. And I have it. I have it in the house. I don't think I have any out here. I'm looking up at my shelf of that kind of stuff, and I don't see it up there. So And I don't see it over there in the guitar tools. So yeah, I will have to go in the house and get that, because I want to actually remove these and just kind of take them off and clean them, and maybe flip this thing 180 and reseat it, because it's a little bit, it's off center a little bit, and I think it would be a good idea to reseat this somehow, and maybe even replace that. Maybe, who knows. This back here I think is fine, but I think the same thing needs to happen. I need to remove these bolts and make sure that the threads are nice and clean and not rusty. And yeah, that will be the main thing. So some penetrate on there to eat the rust away. And then, yeah, that'll be the next thing I need to do. Remove these trucks and make sure that the hardware holding it together is not going to, who knows, these things might snap. And then I have to order, mounting hardware for a skateboard, which is no big deal. And I thought about maybe just doing that and replacing this old hardware, which probably is the smartest thing to do. But, it is original. So I'm going to try to restore by getting the rust cleaned off of these threads. So I'll probably take these downstairs to the wire wheel and clean them off and sit them in some solution. And then same thing with the nuts. I'll probably take a tap and clean the nut threads out just a little bit, make sure they're not rusted out a little bit. And then there's always, going to the hardware store and just getting replacement nuts for them. But who knows? I mean, they are, one of them is like kind of stripped. So when you try to put the Allen wrench in it, it doesn't hold an Allen wrench anymore. So that one of them I'm definitely worried about. But, that I do have to remove the trucks and either reseat this hardware or replace this mounting hardware before I can trust this going for a ride. But then the very next thing is going to be taking a test ride, and I want to make sure that the tension on this bolt and the tension on this bolt, that they are at the same place. Because you don't want your board all of a sudden start wobbling on you when you're riding. When something gets like just too loose back there, that's not good. But you don't want it so stiff that you can't, get a good slalom going. You need to be able to, and you need to be able to execute turning too. So, and that's very important. If you get on the ramps, you need to be able to lean into it so you can get around an obstacle and make it up to the edge, and then pop off of the edge and do whatever you're going to do and come back down. If your board is too tight, yeah, you're not going to be able to execute stuff right. You need to be able to, the board will go wherever you take it once you get skateboarding. That's the one thing I can say that I remember the most about skateboarding. Yeah, there's a lot of freedom in it. Definitely a lot of freedom if you got paved pathways to get to where you want to go. I do not have paved pathways here. I have a dirt road, and it's like 2 miles of dirt road before I get to anything that looks like pavement, and that's a 65-mile-an-hour road. So I'm not going to get out there and skateboard. There's really no place here to go skateboarding without going all the way to Oscoda in front of the Holiday Inn, where there's a skate park, a dedicated skate park paid for by the people of Oscoda, for the skateboarders of Oscoda and the surrounding areas. So that's there, and I do plan on spending some time on that this year. So, I imagine if I had stayed living down in Flint and just done the graphic arts and all that stuff down there instead of going all over the state doing the music and all that stuff. I am sure that at some point, because of all the pavement availabilities to me, I wouldn't have been able to help myself. I would have got on this at some point and taken a ride, or bought a quote unquote modern skateboard. But yeah, this thing, I got a lot of history with this board. I know that I spent some serious time on this particular board. I remember these wheels. I remember when I bought them. They were relatively new to the market. They were I can't remember what the I can't tell if it says 62 or 96. I'm looking at it. I'll show you what I'm looking at here. And maybe you can see. So, yeah. It's this here and here. So, yeah, one of them has to do with the actual size of the wheel. And then the other number has something to do with the hardness of the wheel. And I do know that I liked 95s or 96s. I liked a hard wheel. I didn't want something rubbery. I didn't want something that was going to get slippery and grippy when it got too hot. And I didn't want something that was going to get flat spots in it. So I got to where I learned a lot about the skateboard wheels through all the ones that I had tried, and these were some of the best ones that I'd ever run across, because even though I did quit skating, so they got less use on them as what they would have got. They definitely got less usage on them, but I do remember that they lasted a long time. So I'm trying to remember when I actually got this board and how much time I actually had on this board. I mean, it's a 1988 model, and I think I bought it in 90. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't really remember. I may have got it even earlier than that, but it's real hard to say. Oh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've had a lot of boards. Had a lot of crazy ass boards. Like, I can't even remember how many. I know I had every Grigley model at one point or another. At one point, I think I had 3 Grigleys. I had a broken one for a long time, just because my first Grigley, like, the board snapped, and it had Venture trucks on it, and those got wore out super fast. And then the original wheels that I got with my original Grigley board, like, the whole thing was a catastrophe. I sold my Star Wars collection, the collection I had when I was a child. I sold that for way less than what I should have sold it for, and then bought this Grigley board. And then, like, within a month of having the board, it snapped, like, right here. And then the wheels puked out next. And then the trucks, by the time I ended up having to buy an entirely new board. I had to replace that board, and then the trucks, they made it over to the board, but the wheels were shot by the time I've got to the next thing that was broke. It was one of those things. So yeah, and after, I remember I really liked tracker trucks, so I think this was like maybe the 3rd or 4th set of tracker trucks After my ventures puked out on me, I was like, I'm never doing ventures again. And I didn't like Gull Wing because what I'd been told about Gull Wing is that they're always a heavier weight, and that it always had this weird like embossment on the left and right and a little groove in the middle. And yeah, some people don't like that. Some people like having just the flat surface like this. And this was what I liked. So I like whatever trucks these are. These are Tracker. Can I say what it is here? Oh, it's Acro? Huh. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I can't remember. But that's what they are. They're trackers. And yeah, I always like the tracker trucks. And I always liked a real hard density wheel. And yeah, and I did the riser, the cell block riser, so it helps distribute the weight down there when you're landing on your ollies and your jumps and all that stuff. So, well, that was cool. I've been sitting here babbling for 40 minutes about my skateboard. I'm glad you tuned in, all 5 or 6 of you. Sorry it took me this long to talk about it, but I think we're done until we fix the bolts. I think that's good. I think we're gonna call it a video. And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and all that wonderful stuff. So I know you're out there. And tell me about your skateboards, or send me links to your YouTube channel so I can see what you guys are all about. What do you do in your spare time? All right. And to all my Star Wars fans out there, I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick Wookiee. Here we go. I'll see you next time.